I'm a 25-year-old male. However, the story I'm about to tell you happened when I was around 13 years old, and to this day, it's one of the most horrifying experiences that's ever happened to me. I lived in a rural neighborhood with the closest neighbor being about a mile away. My parents had plans to go to a late-night costume party, and they trusted me to stay at home by myself without the need to hire another babysitter. They told me they would be back by 10 p.m. and not to open the door for anyone, no matter who it was. They left around 7 p.m. and I decided to spend most of my time playing video games and eating a bunch of chocolate candies we had in a bowl on the dining table. A couple of hours in, I heard a loud knock at the door. Figuring it was my parents coming back home early, I walked over and opened the door without even checking the peephole to see who it was. As I opened the door, I was shocked to meet an old man roughly in his mid to late 60s. Without letting me say a word, he asked, "Are your parents home, young man?" And I paused for a moment and told him, "Yeah, they're just upstairs." His response is then what sent shivers down my spine. "You're not a very good liar. I watched your parents leave a while back." I tried slamming the door, but his foot was preventing me from shutting it. He then pushed himself through with all his strength, knocking me to the floor. I bolted upstairs and made a run for my bedroom. Once I got inside, I quickly locked the door and hid in the closet under a bunch of stuffed animals. I didn't have a phone at the time, but I did have an iPod Touch that I could make calls on over the internet with an app called Magic Jack. I opened it and dialed 911. As the operator picked up, I heard a loud banging, and it sounded almost as if the man was trying to kick my door down. I whispered to the operator that there's a man in my house trying to kick down my door. The operator assured me that everything would be okay, and they already had police units on the way. I stayed on the line for what felt like hours until the banging eventually stopped. Although the entire house fell silent, I wouldn't dare to open that door until the police arrived. Soon enough, the sounds of police sirens in the distance became music to my ears. Shortly after, I heard footsteps bolting down the stairs and out the back door. It was clear the man was waiting patiently to see if I would open the door. About 10 minutes passed, and I heard another knock at my bedroom door, followed by the police announcing their presence. I was hesitant at first, but I opened the door, and there were 3 officers on the other side. One of them sat me down, and I explained the entire situation to him as he filled out a police report. My parents eventually came home, and they were in complete shock and disbelief when they saw the police cars outside. They rushed over to me, and my mom gave me a big hug, asking me if I was okay and what happened. The officer explained everything to them, and from that day going forward, my parents never left me at home by myself ever again. Eventually, the police were able to identify the man from the Ring camera we had at our front door, and it was revealed that the man was a registered sex offender. Later on, he was arrested, and when the police went in to search his home, they found literal gigabytes of child porn on his laptop. From what I heard, he will be spending the rest of his life behind bars, rightfully where he belongs. Last Tuesday was one of those nights that I won't ever forget. I'm a 30-year-old woman, happily living with my fiancé and our 2 lovable huskies, Coda and Luna. These dogs are the furthest thing from guard dogs. They're bundles of pure affection who wouldn't harm a fly. My brother-in-law and friends have walked into our home countless times without a peep from our furry duo. But on that fateful night, our serene existence took a harrowing turn, and I won't bore you with all the details, but here's where the story truly begins. It was around 8 p.m, and the darkness had already settled outside. My fiancé had headed out to a hockey game, leaving me home alone. I was in the bathroom, engrossed in the noise of my hairdryer, when the world suddenly shifted. The once familiar stillness was disrupted by an unexpected howl from one of the dogs. I hastily switched off the hairdryer and strained my ears, wondering if they were getting into another one of their playful scuffles. But then, it happened. A faint but unmistakable knock at the door. Coda and Luna erupted into a cacophony of barking, howling and frantic jumping, to the point where I feared they'd shatter the bay window. My mind raced, trying to comprehend what could make my usually tranquil pets go berserk like this. I thought maybe it was a stray dog or a skunk they'd spotted. I rushed to the bedroom, the closest vantage point to our front door. Peering out, my heart sank as I spotted 2 figures, 2 men, dressed in all black. They had moved from knocking gently to pounding on the door with an unsettling urgency. Coda, my 2-year-old husky, leaped from the bay window and landed in front of the door with a menacing growl emanating from his throat. He barked viciously, displaying sheer determination to protect his home and family. From my vantage point, I watched as one of the men jumped back in startled surprise, his eyes meeting his companion's. They exchanged an uncertain glance, but instead of retreating, they seemed to be determined to get in. With trembling hands, I urged my fiancé to hurry home, explaining the dire situation. He tried calming me down, assuring me he's on his way and not to hang up. Time seemed to stretch into eternity, until at last, the distant rumble of my fiancé's car engine grew louder. Without hesitation, my fiancé bolted from his car and charged at them, a fierce confrontation erupting on our doorstep. The men, brandishing gleaming knives, lashed out at him, narrowly slicing his arm as they grappled in the dark. In the midst of the chaotic struggle, I saw my chance to help. Desperation and fear coursed through me as I flung open the front door, releasing our two loyal huskies into the fray. The sudden appearance of our fearless furry defenders took the intruders by surprise. Coda and Luna lunged at the men, teeth bared and growls echoing through the night. The intruders, now outnumbered and facing the wrath of our protective pets, lost their nerve. With Coda and Luna snapping at their heels, they fled into the darkness, leaving behind their dark intentions. My fiancé, though injured, was safe thanks to our courageous dogs. The adrenaline-fueled confrontation had left us shaken, but we were grateful for our loyal companions and their unwavering bravery. After the intruders fled, my fiancé and I wasted no time. We called the police, who arrived promptly to take our statements and assess the situation. The officers were sympathetic and understanding, assuring us that they would investigate the incident thoroughly. We haven't heard anything back from them as yet, but we'll keep you all posted if they find the suspects. In the end, those unsettling visitors served as a chilling reminder that danger can lurk in the most unexpected places. But as long as my furry guardians were by my side, we had a fighting chance to keep our home and loved ones safe, even in the darkest of nights. It was a Thursday in August 2002. I was 12 years old and had been living with my mum for the past 6 years since she and my dad got divorced. Soon after their divorce, my mum met a new man who moved in with us a few months later. Looking back, I can remember a few times when he showed red flag behaviour, like one evening when my siblings and I shared weekends between our mum and dad. We were watching TV very late, and he, drunk out of his mind, smashed the TV with his hands. Back then, TV screens were made of glass, so he cut his hand badly and started yelling at us while bleeding. My mum forgave him after he came up with a million excuses for his behaviour, but eventually she became fed up. Fast forward a few years, and my mum finally decided to break up with him. That's when we moved into a different apartment a few miles away to get some distance. As a naive kid who thought she could have two dads, I wasn't exactly thrilled about the idea. I even resented my mum a bit for leaving him, despite all the red flags. One Thursday morning while I was at school, I was feeling a bit unwell and noticed a rash on my hips. My teacher sent me to the doctor, who then diagnosed me with shingles. The doctor warned that if the rash worsened and encircled my hip, it could potentially be fatal. I was sent home for the day and allowed to stay home the next day. The following morning, my mum woke me up, and after she left for work, I heard a noise from the hallway. Assuming it was her, I called for her. However, her ex-boyfriend appeared in the doorway, asking me what I was doing at home and not in school. I told him that I had shingles, and then he expressed how much he missed us and how sorry he was for not being there. Naively, I entertained his visit and even made a promise to him not to tell my mum that he came by. I obviously told her the minute she came home. I never kept a secret from her. I didn't even question how he even entered the apartment. Without a key, without someone opening the door for him, I never in a million years would have thought that this might be illegal or inappropriate behaviour. I knew that man, and he had lived with us for a number of years now. Later on that same day, my dad drove me to my grandma's as I had planned weeks in advance to stay the weekend with her, and I already felt much better. My mum was supposed to pick me back up on Sunday, but on that morning, my mum hadn't answered her phone for about 12 hours, which was unusual. A friend of the family picked me up, drove me home, and still, we heard no news from my mum. Since there's a rule in my country that a person has to be missing for 24 hours before the police can break into their home, we had to wait until the next evening for the police to open the apartment door. My dad, my sisters and I all went inside, and I grabbed all of my school supplies and went to the bathroom. After exiting the bathroom, I found my mum's dental prosthesis on a counter in the hallway. Not realizing it could be potential evidence, I picked it up and brought it into the kitchen where my dad was sitting with a police officer. My dad later told me that as soon as he saw the prosthesis, he knew something had happened. My mum had her teeth fixed just a few months prior and would not leave the house without it. The police took note of this, and we all went back to my dad's house, where we waited for any further updates. Fast forward to Tuesday morning, and I woke up a bit early and decided to make my way downstairs to get something. On my way, I saw the village priest leaving our house. There was some news, but it wasn't good. The previous evening, one of my mum's neighbours went upstairs to do laundry in the attic. As he went up there, he noticed one of the doors was locked. No resident from that apartment building had a key to this specific room, so the landlord had to come out to open the door. And as you can guess, once the door was opened, they were met with a horrifying sight. My mum was murdered, and her ex had been the one responsible. He came by the apartment again, just one day after he broke in initially, and that's when he met my mum in the apartment. The last person my mum spoke to was my aunt, with her last words being, "There's someone knocking on the door. It's him again. I gotta hang up. Call you later." It was later confirmed that her ex-boyfriend gained access to the apartment the same way he did on Friday, with a credit card. He was arrested only a day later in a bar after telling the bartender that he had done something really stupid. Well, no shit, Sherlock. About 8 months later, in April of the following year, my older sister and I testified in court during the murder trial, and we told our side of the story. Before doing so, however, our father argued that the court make sure we wouldn't have to face the killer. He was eventually sentenced to only 9 years in prison for manslaughter, 7 of which he actually served. After he was released, he moved back to our hometown, close to where it all happened. Over the years, people have told me that I was lucky because he could have killed me as well if I had been at home on that fateful day. A lot of different scenarios could have played through, and although I wish I could go back and prevent things, I can't change the past. So to my mom's ex-boyfriend, the man who does not have a name because he doesn't deserve one, let's never meet again.